So today we're going to talk a little bit more about graphing from vertex form. Okay, so again, we're talking about vertex form. We're just going to add a new wrinkle today. So the only thing that we don't know is what happens if I put a negative sign in front of the x squared. Okay, so what does this guy right here do to the way that our function looks? Well, let's complete a table of values first. So we know that negative 2 squared is 4, negative 1 squared is 1, 0, 1, 4. And we know that our original parabola starts at the center, so vertex 0, 0, and over 1 up 1, over 2 up 4. That's the step pattern, right? So same thing on the other side. Okay, so there's our original y equals x squared. Okay? Now, let's look at negative x squared. Well, negative 2 squared is positive 4, but then we have a negative in front of it. So that'll make it negative 4. Negative 1 squared is positive 1, but we put a negative in front of it. So negative 1. 0 squared is 0. Negative 0 is still 0. 1 squared is 1, but put a negative in front of it, makes it negative 1. And 2 squared is 4, put a negative in front of it, makes it negative 4. So what does that do to our step pattern? Well, we still have our vertex at 0, 0. But now, when we go over 1, we go down 1. So over 1, down 1. When we go over 2, we go down 4. So 2, negative 4. And same thing on the left side. Negative 1, we go down 1. And negative 2, we go down 4. Okay? So there's our parabola. Actually looks exactly the same as the original, except it is reflected. Okay? So what I mean by reflected is this point is right under that one, this one's right under that one, that one's reflected, that's reflected. So we call this a reflection in the x-axis. Okay, so it's a reflection in the x-axis. So it's like the x-axis is a mirror, and there's a reflection happening. Okay, so now let's look at what happens when we put that concept together with other parts. Okay, so the vertex is still the vertex, right? Remember, this plus 2 moves everything to the left 2. This plus 4 moves everything up 4, right? So that gives us a vertex at negative 2, 4, right? So negative 2, 4. There's our vertex. Now, the negative 1, that negative is the new part. So remember, our original step pattern would have gone over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, and over 2, up 4, over 2, up 4. But now, because of that negative, our graph is actually going to go over 1, down 1, over 1, down 1, over 2, down 4, over 2, down 4. So this is the way that that parabola looks. Okay? So this part is now gone because of that negative sign, and all that's left is this downward facing parabola. Okay? So remember, we were trying to figure out how are we going to make a parabola open down. Well, this is it. It's that negative sign in front. Okay? So let's try another one. Here, we'll look at the vertex first. So that plus 4 makes everything move to the left 4. The minus 10 makes everything move down 10. That gives us a vertex at negative 4, negative 10. So negative 4, negative 10. Now, the step pattern, there is no negative, so it's going to be going up, but the a value is 3. So remember, normally you would go over 1, up 1, over 2, up 4, but now, because of our step pattern, we're actually going to triple those steps. So over 1, up 3 instead of 1. Over 1, up 3. And then over 2, up instead of 4, we're going to multiply that by 3. So 4, 8, 12. 4, 8, 12. Okay, so there's our new parabola. Okay, and this old part is actually gone. Okay, so there's our parabola. It's been moved to the left 4, down 10, and it's been stretched by 3. Okay, so let's look at this last one. We'll look at the vertex first again. So the x minus 3 means we're going to move the vertex to the right 3. The minus 4 means we're going to move the vertex down 4. So that gives us a vertex at 3, negative 4. So that's 3, negative 4. All right. And the a value, the step pattern, is negative 0.5. Okay. So we're going to do this all in one step. So the negative tells us we're going to be facing down. And the 0.5 tells us instead of going over 1, down 1, we're going to go over 1, down 0.5. Same on the other side. Instead of going over 2, down 4, we're going to go over 2, down 2, because we're going to take that 4, multiply it by 0.5. Okay? And there's our downward facing parabola. Okay? So that's how we draw parabolas with negative a values. And let's finally make some conclusions about all these letters. Okay? So A affects what we call the vertical stretch. It takes the parabola and it changes it from looking like that to looking like that, right? So it takes the parabola and vertically stretches it, okay? The second part, H, affects what we call the horizontal translation, okay? So what that means is that our original parabola gets moved horizontally. So it gets moved to the right or to the left, okay? What we call the K value affects the vertical translation, okay? So what that means is our parabola moves up and down, right? And the last thing that we just talked about is if the A value is negative, then there's a reflection, right? So we said that that looks like, we go from that to a reflection, opening down. Okay? So those are the 4 effects that numbers have on our parabolas. Okay? So that's that. Submit your questions. See you in class.